We're talking today about DynamicsCon 2025 top 3 takeaways. I'm joined by Nuvei and Starship. They were 2 exhibitors and sponsors at the DynamicsCon 2025. And we're going to be talking about the top 3 takeaways from the show. As we go ahead and get started, top customer conversations and trends. We're going to be talking about the highlights from the exhibit hall and key insights from DynamicsCon sessions. And here are our presenters today: Nicole Ronchetti, Senior ERP Product Manager over at Nuvei. She handles the Dynamics product lines. Simon Volta, Senior ERP Product Manager over at Starship. And Adrienne Montgomery, that's myself. I'm a partner at ERP VAR. And we're going to go ahead and talk about Starship first, a little bit about Starship. So I'm going to go ahead and let Simon talk to this slide. Simon, thank you so much on behalf of Starship.
Yeah, well, thanks, Adrienne, and good afternoon, good morning to everyone. And this is Simon Volta, Regional Director here for V Technologies. Just a little bit about V Technologies and Starship, for those of you who may not know us, and some of you may be using us today. But Starship is really just a multi-carrier, multi-mode shipping application that ties in with both Microsoft GP and also Microsoft Business Central 365. We focus obviously on the ERP integrations and having a seamless integration between that platform and our solution to have it, have you use one concise application to easily rate shop your different carrier applications, as well as printing all your different shipping documentation, both domestically and internationally. And these are just some of the various features of Starship as well, when it comes to helping you kind of streamline your process overall, from a shipping process, right? Because most of our customers we meet or speak to are kind of doing things manually today in their environments. But this is who we are, right, and how we can help you and kind of save that time and that labor that you all might be facing today. And if it is something of interest that you do want to speak to us more about, we're happy to do so after the webinar and kind of see if it's something that may fit your needs or not. But I will turn it over to Nicole from Nuvei, and she can talk a little bit about her solution.
Thanks, Simon. Hi, everybody. So my name is Nicole Ronchetti. I am one of the senior ERP product managers here at Nuvei, and I manage our integration for Dynamics 365 Business Central. So for those of you not familiar with our company, we're an integrated payments platform offering a native portal with reporting, and you can sync all different kinds of documents over to that portal, such as invoices, sales orders, and it can be easily customized as well.
All right. So we're going to be talking about the top customer conversations and trends. And Nicole and Simon, you guys were at the booth for the most part of the convention, so you had a lot of talking points with customers, so you kind of know, the buzz that's going on in the community just by talking to everybody. So I know that a big theme of the conference was the Dynamics GP migration. And Simon, I know you guys have a lot of Dynamics GP customers in your database that are on Starship, so you're constantly talking to Dynamics GP customers. So I'm going to go ahead and start with you. What are your thoughts on some of these bullet points here? What are your thoughts on the GP end of life approaching, and what are those customers kind of, experiencing? What are their thought processes? Are they looking at going to DynamicsBC? What are their thoughts about DynamicsBC and the differences between GP and BC? Did you gather any of that kind of information throughout, not only the convention, but also your experience in real life talking to your existing Great Plains customers?
Yeah, thanks, Adrian. Yeah, and so yeah, we do speak to a lot of. I mean, we do have a large base of GP customers today, as you mentioned, and during obviously our standard conversations, but more importantly throughout the convention and at our booth, right, the GP customers that we had spoken to are either in the process today of migrating into Business Central as we speak, or maybe still just starting the process and kind of seeking out what Business Central has to offer. I mean, there are some potential complications, with maybe some customers who are heavily customizing GP that they're trying to figure out how they're going to be supported in Business Central if that's the route they take. But really, kind of the real takeaway from here is really kind of, starting now, because we all know that GP is going away. I know they keep advancing the date, it seems, but we keep hearing 2028, 2029, somewhere in that vicinity. But the key thing here is that what everyone is telling us is to really start now, right? To start evaluating their future plans, right? Let's not wait until the end of the road to start really evaluating your next step in an ERP application, because it's going to take some time, right, to make sure that BC is the right move forward, or you're looking on some other cloud ERP as well. But really to have a plan, right, and kind of try to start executing on the plan today over the next several years, so that way you're in position to migrate seamlessly there. But that's kind of what we're hearing from customers, and they're just trying to feel out what Microsoft Business Central has to offer. And from the customers who have migrated, they seem to really like Business Central and what it has to offer. They were a little hesitant at first, but the ones that have moved over, they seem to have now gotten accustomed to it, and really, seem to really like and enjoy being in a full cloud application.
Do you feel like there's like a common theme though of functionality that they might have had in GP that they might not have in BC, or do they feel like their functionality is being addressed? Are there any common challenges, anything like that? I mean, not to be negative, but whenever you're making a change, there's plus and minuses. So, I mean, out of curiosity, do you have like any common, like, yeah, we're so happy that we have this that we didn't used to have in GP, or is there anything, that they don't have in BC that they had in GP? Anything that comes to mind, like during your conversations?
Sure. I'll interject on that one a little bit, because we get a lot of that too. I mean, it's really going to come down to people who have highly customized systems, right? If they're on a GP system that was highly customized, it's going to be difficult for them to move, right? Because if it was custom, they may be losing out on functionality by getting rid of that customization, or they have to look at recreating that customization, so that's usually the biggest hindrance for people. It's not so much about the platform itself having less functionality. It's about add-ons, ISV solutions, customizations, right? Maybe they're using a payment processor on GP that doesn't have an integration any longer to Business Central or something, right? So it's those kinds of things that kind of are the conversations that we see ourselves having with this talk of, migrations, is what solutions are available between the two platforms, what needs to be replaced, and what needs to be done there, really.
And so, you need a roadmap to plan for the future. So they have to plan now. Simon spoke to that. Nicole, do you have any thoughts around the planning process?
I mean, I think that's what a lot of the people were doing there, right? Is they're walking the show floor, and those businesses are, coming up with trying to get that plan together of, hey, what direction do we want to go in? I would say that's most of the people that I talked to were people who are still GP, but figuring out what that path forward looks like. Like, that's why they came to DynamicsCon, was to do their research, learn, find the solutions, and come up with their plan, because, they are thinking about the future.
Did you guys see Navision customers there that were on Navision as well? or was it just mostly GP?
We saw a few Navision customers, and those customers are obviously looking at Business Central. Some are looking for higher end product, right? But we saw a couple. We didn't see many at our booth, but we did see a few of those, and they're looking at what Business Central has to offer in comparison to what they currently have today as well.
Were there any talk about like when they're going to sunset Navision? I know that GP was within the next 5 years, but how about the Navision product? Was there any mention of that?
I personally didn't hear about it. I don't know if you did, Nicole, but I didn't hear anything from the Navision side. But I know they're kind of feeling the push right themselves to get out of Navision and onto something bigger and better in the future.
And we do want the audience to participate too. And I do see some of you are Navision partners. So if you do have any feedback for us and any information, we'd love it if you raise your hand or go ahead and click on that question mark. Let us know if you have any information you want to add or any input you wanted to contribute. We would love for you to participate. Okay, so audit existing system and then engage with partners for options and demos. So, it really is that planning for the future, because, replacing your ERP system is no small task. So it takes a lot of making sure you're connecting the dots and bringing in a system that's capable of replacing, your GP system that you probably have had for years and years and years and have grown with, and getting used to really the new idea of a system, really, and your employees getting their arms around it. So did you guys have any thoughts along the lines of auditing your existing systems and then understanding those ISV partners for options and demos that integrate with BC? Anything else you guys wanted to add there, Simon and Nicole?
What was it? Sorry, Adrian, was a question around, do we meet with any partners to kind of collaborate?
No,
with?
I just wanted to see if you wanted to expand on, the process of auditing your existing GP system, because everybody's unique, right? No two companies on GP are going to be exactly alike. So it really is about doing your individual homework for your own environment, right? And auditing what you currently have to understand the extent that you need to implement a BC system. So I'm just wondering, I know, Nicole, you have a lot of experience, with implementations and stuff. So do you have any other thoughts? I know you expanded already, but around auditing process, and then you already mentioned, understanding ISV solutions and how to integrate with the BC system, because the ISV solution that you might have now, the add-ons, might not be available in BC. So I didn't know if you want to add anything along those lines.
Yeah,
we just move to, okay.
Yeah, I mean, the only other thing is, like, I think sometimes too, what we hear is, maybe they had things that they didn't even need because they're moving to this newer software that's replaced some of those things too. So we do hear some of that also,
So they'll just have natural functionality in the box with BC that they might not have had with GP, and they needed to address with an add-on. Okay.
Yeah.
So cloud first implementations. So can you guys talk, and starting with you, Nicole, around just moving to the cloud, how you can improve your functionality by moving into the cloud, and how all the employees can access the system remotely, things of that nature. Could you talk a little bit about the cloud first implementation?
With the conversations with people at the conference?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that most people that we spoke to are, definitely looking at cloud first and foremost, and if they're not on the cloud, how to make that shift there. But there is a lot more demand on security measures, not even just on the actual ERP side and that side, but on the ISV side also. We have to worry about all different kinds of compliances when working with payments and that sort of thing, right? So people are much more educated in a lot of those areas too, with lots of the different regulations, and they come and they want to have all those SOC 2 answers or whatever else, so people are definitely being more tech forward and asking those tough questions about the platform itself and security, for sure.
There was a lot of trepidation, right, in the beginning when there were cloud solutions being introduced in the market about security. And, people just were very cautious about moving to the cloud. Do you feel like that's easing up among the community and people are accepting cloud-based solutions more and more? Because, we all kind of went through the phase where people just were very reluctant to put their accounting solution in the cloud. Do you feel like, their concerns are being lifted and the understanding of the SOC 2 compliance and all that?
Yeah, it's definitely off space.
Simon, do you have any thoughts around that?
From a cloud first implementation perspective, this is, obviously the wave of the future, right? This is what everyone is speaking of. This is the big buzz right now around ERP in general. Even, from our perspective, that's a big buzzword. But it's really just trying to find the right solution, right? Because that is one of the concerns, security, as Nicole mentioned, with SOC 2 and other data privacy issues, things like that, right? Where people are very concerned from having their data housed locally today on their own server versus now putting it out into the cloud. But obviously with all the cloud servers out there and how secure the things are and more protected, I can speak for some of our customers today that have been recently hit with large ransomware attacks, right? For example, on their local servers, those kind of things that don't really occur here in the cloud world, right? So with all the security that goes around that, so again, it's really kind of improving that security component and making sure that you have something that's easily accessible, right? And we talk about that a lot in our world, that you can access it anywhere, anytime, right? And really have more of those features and benefits.
What do you guys say when you come across a customer now that's still very cautious, still, very concerned about putting their data in the cloud? Do you still have those people that you're talking to when you are offering your solutions that are concerned, basically, and that you have to, kind of talk them off the ledge? Do you have anything that you really can point to say that this might be actually even more secure than their on-prem solution?
Yeah, for us anyway, we kind of like point to those kind of factors, right? What do they do in those cases, right? Because they can really happen to anybody, right? These days, and it's happening more and more frequently. So it's like, what's the plan? What's plan B, look like for you? And then it's really, I think a lot of users today, right, are kind of focused around like, because they've held on to their own data for such a long period of time. It's new for everybody, right? The cloud is a new thing, not new to many, but it's new out there for someone to relinquish that control in a way, right? To now put it out there into the cloud and kind of say, okay, it's running, right? We don't have to maintain it anymore ourselves. So I think it's kind of a bit of a change factor for some people. But we kind of point to those few things of, okay, what happens in this case, or what happens in the case a server goes down? Again, what is the plan that we have to think about that you have to run through today to ensure that the business operates, efficiently, all, ongoing, right? Cloud, again, we don't worry about those factors because there is no server breakdown happening, or there's no ransomware happening, right? So these are components that we can, kind of forget about in a way and worry about other factors that we have to worry about. So that's kind of what we point to on our side anyway.
So it's actually way more secure in the cloud than
Correct.
on-prem, keeping it in-house. Okay. So let's turn to the exhibit hall highlights. So this year, there were 2,000 registered attendees, and 960 of those were partners or ISVs, and 940 of those were the end users, and mostly, I'm understanding from you two, that they were GP. And then, sprinkled in there were some Navision. Did you guys see any like existing Exapta customers? That's the F&O. Those are the guys that are moving to the F&O solution. Did you have any conversations with Dynamics AX or Exapta users? Did you see any of those guys? And was the emphasis only on DynamicsBC? Was there any emphasis on Dynamics F&O? Just curious.
I mean,
Yeah.
I was pretty much in our booth like the whole time that the exhibit hall was happening. So I can only speak to like the people that I came across, right? Like I don't know like of the larger space. We definitely saw, like Simon said before, like a couple of F&O people. We may have seen a few. I think I did see a couple of Exapta people too. But yeah, it was kind of all over. But I would say at least we always get a lot of F&O. But those seem to stand out for some reason to me. But I don't know if they just end up at our booth.
Well, and that solution is a lot more. There's a lot more investment required with that solution. It's more of a tier 1 solution, as I understand it. So a GP customer making the leap to F&O would require a huge investment compared to GP. So it just depends on their requirements and how they're going to be addressed with BC, I would imagine. Okay, so attendee industry, 404 of the end user registered attendees come from manufacturing, and those 53% of the end users, so most of them were manufacturers, it sounds like, that you guys spoke with. So were they like manufacturers were they like e-commerce too, or is it just across the board? Distributors, obviously, manufacturing. Did you guys see any insight other than just manufacturing? Did you guys take away, any kind of unique businesses that you saw as like a common theme? Or was it just mainly manufacturing and distribution?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of manufacturing distribution, at least at our booth, right? Because obviously shipping, goes hand in hand with both of those industries. So we saw a few. We had probably 4 or 5 inquiries on the construction side, believe it or not. A lot of construction, shipping material, construction sites, things like that. Kind of in that field. A couple oil and gas, I would say. Customers in that industry, but mostly I would say distribution manufacturing, that we encountered anyway, have attended that.
Okay, great. Okay, perfect. That sounds right in line, with who you guys serve. So just moving along here, key insights from sessions. Can you guys maybe just go through this quickly? Price, ease of implementation, ease of use, these points here. What is the first ERP purchase priorities versus the second ERP purchase priorities?
Yeah, I can take this.
And I know we only have a couple minutes left.
Yeah, I'll speak to this like for 30 seconds. But this was interesting from a session I think that we had attended anyway. And kind of one of our takeaways is kind of looking at when someone purchases their first ERP to their second ERP, kind of how the what we call the critical factors of purchasing an ERP would be, right? And you can see there from the first one there in the top line, price, right? Purchasing your first ERP, top priority is price for everyone. However, when you go to your second purchase price, that number 1 drops to number 5, right? And now number one becomes level of support provided by a partner, right? So you can kind of see from the top to the bottom on the slide, they sort of flip-flop, right? From when you first purchased to now when you're going to purchase, say, a second ERP, kind of what's the most important versus what's not so important, making that ultimate decision. But this was a pretty interesting slide that I thought was, pretty spot on. We don't sell ERP ourselves, but even for our solution, kind of what customers come to us for and they look for, kind of really resonates with us as well. That says, hey, everyone looks at price, but price is going to only get you so far. It's really kind of all the other factors that go into purchasing, really any solution you're looking for. So.
And a customer might decide, price is the number one thing, but then they get in the implementation and they just have to have a piece of functionality that they didn't even recognize they needed prior to implementation. So price is just not even, considered in the top three anymore, because they just get excited as they go through implementation and as they recognize more functionality and value they're going to get by implementing more add-ons or, additional customization perhaps. So here's the contact information. Everyone enjoy the rest of your day. We really appreciate you spending time with us. Everyone take care. Bye-bye.
All right.